administration.
President George Bush will leave behind a legacy of decisions and policies affecting the U.S. Constitution. Critics say he has done extensive damage to Americans' civil liberties and to international obligations.
The one war that he has won has been his war against the Constitution. He suffered many setbacks elsewhere, and it's his one truly enduring legacy that he isn't going to boast about, but perhaps it's his most important in terms of the future of the United States Constitution.
In waging the so-called war on terror, Bush has asserted broad powers to spy, eavesdrop, imprison, and torture. It's part of a radical theory of presidential power called the unitary executive, which essentially allows the president to do anything he wants. Bush says all his actions were justified by the need to prevent additional attacks in the wake of 9/11.
Well, there's room for honest and healthy debate about the decisions I've made, and there's plenty of debate. There can be no debate about the results in keeping America safe.
Bush also imprisoned U.S. citizens without warrant, trial, or access to lawyers. Bush has repeatedly claimed the U.S. does not torture, but orders from near the very top of his administration permitted waterboarding and other mistreatment of prisoners in Guantanamo and in illegal secret prisons around the world. Orders allowing the brutal mistreatment of Iraqi prisoners in Abu Ghraib also came from near the top of the Bush administration, but only the lowest level U.S. soldiers were ever held accountable. Bush ordered covert warrantless wiretaps on U.S. citizens in violation of federal law and kept the details secret from congressional oversight, again defending the action as needed to defeat America's enemies.
We need to quickly figure out who the terrorists are talking to and what they're saying in order to protect the homeland.
So help me God.
While stocking his Justice Department with political operatives, Bush claimed his power over so-called enemy combatants was not subject to judicial overview, a violation of the constitutional separation of powers doctrine that the Supreme Court has emphatically and repeatedly rejected. In most cases, the U.S. Congress supinely allowed Bush free rein. But when it did dare to pass a law he opposed, Bush simply declared he would ignore it. Hundreds of these so-called signing statements have invalidated U.S. laws. Now, with Barack Obama about to step into the Oval Office, legal scholars wonder whether he will be tempted to retain some of the vastly expanded presidential power seized by Bush.
It's just contrary to human nature to think that someone who spends all this time to come to the White House says, now you can have the power back, I don't want it. And his advisors certainly aren't going to say that. Every president thinks, well, they may be strong powers, but I'll only use them for good.
Another hallmark of the Bush presidency has been a penchant for extreme secrecy, meaning the full extent of any potential constitutional abuses that occurred on his watch may never be known. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Washington.